Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and shun evil. This will bring health to your own body and nourishment to your bones.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Fight City Gym Talk. I'm here with Tyrone Smith. Tyrone Smith. Sorry. Now, what do you go by?
Tbone.
Tbone. Where did that come from?
It was actually my dad's nickname in high school. Pretty much our name starts with a T. Our name is Tyrone, both of our names.
Right.
And we're both skinny, so
Tbone. I thought it was something like when you were playing ball, you just gobble people up or something. There's no way they can get away from you.
Nah. T-Bone,
no.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm a little bit jealous. I've never had a decent nickname. People give me nicknames, but I don't like it, honestly. Like, I've never had a cool one. So I'm always kind of like, yeah, it's kind of cool. But I never embraced it. You know what I mean? So anytime someone's got a solid nickname, I am a little bit jealous of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so played 4 years at University of Utah, right?
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pac-12 champ this last year.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations.
Appreciate that.
I can't tell you how jealous. Once again, I'm jealous he got to play college ball. I always wanted to play college ball, never got to. I'm also jealous that he's got a cool nickname. But whatever, we just got to deal with what we got, right?
Yeah, you're talking about jealousy. Number one guy, MMA, Utah, state champion in wrestling.
I've done a few things, but so basically, and this is the unique situation we're in with Tyrone. Or do you want me to call you Tbone? I'll call you Tbone.
Yeah, that's
fine. Tbone. This is the situation we're in with Tbone. Great athlete. Now here's the thing. I was wrestling with him the other day, and I'll just kind of tell you where I go with people when I wrestle them for the first time. I kind of go cruise control, and I only sub them if they're making bad mistakes.
Right.
In the first round, you didn't really make any bad mistakes, so I didn't really get any subs. Second round, I was like, all right. I feel like maybe he doesn't respect me because I didn't get him.
Yeah.
So, he got out there. He's like, man, this guy's supposed to be good. He never even subbed me. I thought he would beat me up a little bit. So I was like, all right, I got to show him in the second round that I ain't playing anymore. I'm gonna start go tippity tappity tappity tap, and I couldn't. It was frustrating. So that's what I was really impressed by, is that simple fact that how much? Let's talk mat hours for a second. How many hours do you think you've spent on the mat grappling?
Probably maybe 20.
20 hours.
Yeah.
Gosh, makes me feel.
I mean, I wrestled when I was in third grade.
That's why. Okay, it makes me feel better. He was a third grade wrestler. It's like, okay, that's why his fundamentals are so sound. Because back 15 years ago?
Man, yeah, a while.
15. You must have a good coach. So basically, that's kind of where it kind of struck me. This guy might be good. He's got. I didn't know he had 20 hours. I thought he just was kind of a new guy, but 20 hours is nothing. So he's got 20 hours. I couldn't find really any subs. Second round, I start trying to set you up a little bit, right? I start trying to set traps, and I'm still struggling to find them. And I think in the third, I started picking it up to where it's like, okay, no more Mr. Nice Guy. Pushing, pulling, ripping, tripping, everything I can to just get you to fall, force you into traps.
Right.
And it was taking pretty much everything I had to maybe get a submission here, maybe get a submission there. And that's 20 hours versus a guy that's been doing it for over 20 years. So I was very impressed. So you got the grappling down. Now here's the thing. Sorry, I'm just going to brag about you for a little bit. Tbone. Tim the other day was watching you box. Was that the first time you sparred in front of Tim?
I think so.
Just 2-3 days ago?
Yeah. First time in front of him, yeah.
So I told Tim, I was like, hey, Tbone's good, man. Keep your head out. Look for him. Did you get a chance to spar Bishop? He's the Polynesian guy.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. He's the #1 heavyweight in the state right now.
Yeah.
So
I like him.
I was like, hey, watch Tbone I think he could be a natural. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And Tim just pulls me out. I was teaching the kids class. Tim pulls me out of the kids class, and he's like, "Dude, this guy's good. This guy's good." Now, I don't want to toot your horn, get your head big.
Blow smoke up your ass.
Yeah. But this is where a lot of guys that like are maybe natural athletes. If you're a natural athlete and you're watching this, I'm just going to tell you straight up right now. There is someone that can beat you, I promise. Period. There is someone that can beat you. You could be the best football player, the best wrestler, the best boxer, the best whatever. You could have a crazy we had Mike on, he had the 800-pound deadlift. You can have all sorts of extraordinary talent, strengths, cardio, but like the fact is there's someone out there that can beat you.
100%.
And so I always like to take guys like this, Tbone, who are kind of a freak athlete, and be like, congratulations, you got my attention, but there's someone out there that can beat you. And that basically brings it into like, we got to get to work.
Right.
We got to get to work.
Sure.
Okay. So he and I have talked goals a little bit before. I'm going to kind of ask him a little bit, let him explain kind of where we're at. Have you thought about it? When do you want to take your first MMA fight?
I mean, honestly, it's pretty much just up in the air right now. I mean, we've talked about just game planning the proper way and understanding like timing, and like you said, making me work for it. Nothing is given, so guess it's when I'm ready, I guess, or when everybody else feels like it's time. But
Right.
for the most part, I mean, stick to the script. I mean,
Right.
respect the process of just grinding it out, and then when it's time, it's time. I mean,
Perfect. I like how T mentioned respect the process. Is that something that you guys said at the University of Utah?
yeah, that was one of our mantras. It was all over the building. It's something that the coaches would always mention, just respecting the process, because sometimes you want it one way, but it's just not your way.
Right.
And if you respect it, then, I mean, you'll eventually see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Right. Yeah, I remember when I played football, I wanted to be running back. Bad. All I wanted is just give me the ball.
Right.
I promise I can run somebody over and I can get a touchdown. So if it were my way, and the thing is, the team doesn't revolve around me, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it was my way, it'd be like, you're going to give me the ball, I'm going to run and left.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to give it to me again, I'm going to run right. I want you to fake to that guy, then I want you to throw it to me down the middle. You know what I mean? That would have been how I play that. If I got my way, that's how I would have the team playing ball. Just it revolves around me. And the thing about fighting's weird, right? Because like it kind of does revolve around you.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm going to tell a lot of young fighters is, yes, fighting does revolve around you, but your coaches know a lot about the game. They know what it takes to get to the next step, and then the next step, and then the next step. So what is our first step right now? What are your first set of goals? What are you going to do right now to jump on that bandwagon and get that first step to getting your first fight?
I think it's just consistency, being here, showing up, like as many times that you're telling me to come here,
Right.
making sure that I'm here, and just picking up on those small fundamentals that I'm missing out on.
Now I'm going to call them out in front of the whole world. Just out of your own mouth. Let's say, what's an average over the last 3 months out of your own mouth? How many times a week have you been coming?
Probably two.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. maybe. I was coming to jiu-jitsu more.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
but it could be I could triple it.
Easy.
Yeah.
Easy. Real quick. And so once again, as I'm talking to him, remember, I'm talking to a lot of young fighters. Next question I'm going to ask you, T. Are you married?
No.
Got kids?
No. Hopefully.
Hopefully no.
Hopefully not. Hopefully not. Nah, I don't. Yeah.
This belongs to you. You owe me child support.
Right.
So here's the deal. If you don't have a wife or kids, the way I see it, I'm a little bit older. I've been around the block a bit. I kind of feel like you got no excuses.
Right.
No excuses. How many hours a day do you work?
Varies anywhere from about 5 to 12 usually.
5 to 12. Let's talk about it on a weekly basis. How many hours you get per week?
I'll probably hit about 40 to 50.
40 to 50. So 50 is a lot. If you have a 50-hour work week, I get it.
Yeah.
So, but 50 hours, let's go do some math real quick. 50 hours means you're working like 10-hour days.
Yeah.
And that sucks. I've worked 10-hour days. It's not fun. But on a 10-hour day, how many hours do we have per day?
Outside of those 10 hours?
Yeah. Well,
Got
just
12.
total. We got 24.
Or, yeah, so
20
we got 24.
24 hours.
Right.
You work 10.
Right.
Means you still got 14, right?
Right.
Got 14 hours. How many hours do you need to sleep?
8.
Got to sleep 8. And a lot of people are like, oh, I can function on 5. It's like, yeah, you can function poorly on 5.
Right. Yeah.
So for those of you that aren't getting 8 hours of sleep, knock it off. Get at least 7, and be more productive at whatever it is you do. Okay. So you go 10 hours of work, 8 hours of sleep. We're at 18, right?
6 hours left.
We have 6 hours left.
Right.
Okay. So what I want people to understand, the biggest reason they'll set like fight goals and not hit fight goals is this simple fact that like they let the little things get in the way. And the little things drive me crazy. The little things are like, hey, where were you yesterday? Oh, it was my niece's birthday party. Like, I love your niece and I love that you love your niece. But sometimes we need to like put our foot down and be like, that's my goals of fighting are here. Like I said, I don't want to say you can't, you can still send her a card.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe go visit on Sunday. Like there's things we can do, but if you start letting every little nitty gritty thing get in the way, next thing you know, you're pulling 1 and 2 days a week worth of training. And so the niece's birthday is just an example of how people start to let one thing, then the next thing, and then the next thing. And I believe it was, I hate to quote it because I might get it wrong. I want to say it was Stipe was asked after his first win against Francis Ngannou.
Mm-hmm.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but they're like, what sets you apart? What makes you different? And he basically kind of said what I'm talking about. He's like, I don't go to family parties. I don't do this. I don't do that. I don't party on the weekends. He's like, I have to get my training in. And if you ask me, I think he was one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. And so, but he understood what we're talking about, right? The sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I'm going to sacrifice all these little things to make the next step. So back to you, T. What are little things in your life that you can sacrifice to take fighting more serious?
Probably going to sleep earlier.
Yeah.
For me, that's the biggest thing.
Let me ask you this. I'm sorry to cut you off.
You're fine.
Do you play video games?
No.
Good. Holy crap.
Yeah.
If you play video games, knock it off. Stop it right now. Nothing good is coming of it. Okay, sorry. Go on.
I mean, I played them before. It's like every blue moon, but I'm not like every day on the game.
Right. Okay, so we're talking things that you can cut out. You say you can sleep more. What else can we do to get you on track to get training and training right?
I'd say like when I'm getting home, because I mean I could train at night as well. Don't sit down. That's the biggest thing for me. Once I sit down, it's over. I
Right.
ain't getting back up. But like the small things, I mean, for the biggest thing is just like just organizing work. But besides that, like I mean, I'd say just not being lazy, not going home and
Right.
going right to the couch or just to lay down.
And I get it. You have a physical job, so it's like if you're moving, it's hot outside. No one wants to go from sweaty work. I would say I hate mixing sweat.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by mixing sweat. Maybe you understand what I'm saying here. Sweating at work because it's a hot day. That's a nasty, dirty, grimy sweat.
Yeah.
And you're getting like whatever work you're doing. I used to deliver furniture. You're getting like furniture dust on you. You know what I mean? And it's a nasty. And then I also used to work on semi trucks. It's like a greasy, oily sweat.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like mixing my sweats.
Right.
And we're all terrified of ringworm. And so it's like we don't want to mix sweats. So I get it. On a lot of occasions, like, yeah, go home, take a shower.
Yeah.
But we can't sit down.
Right. Can't sit down. My couch, man. It's my couch. it's something about it. As soon as you sit on it, it's over.
Do you start watching YouTube, Instagram, Reels,
Anything that the couch gets you, and
TikTok?
Then, yeah, and then I look up. Next thing you know, there's 3-4 hours went by.
Taking naps?
Sometimes, yeah, but I try not to. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna wait, and then when it's time to go to bed, I'm going to go to bed, and I'm up all night. So my hours are all messed
so
up.
you're screwing yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's the thing: we got to get naps out.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So how many naps a week do you think you take?
One.
Well, that the thing is, like, I mean, maybe it's not as big of a deal that I thought it was, but like, back to, like I said, I'm talking to the young fighters out here, and I'm using T as my example guy. Naps will ruin you,
right?
Because you need 8 hours a night.
Yep.
And if you take a nap, all of a sudden that pushes everything around.
Yes.
But you have to get up for work at pretty much the same time, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if your nap makes it so you're not getting to bed till midnight, 1, 2, that's just which means that tossing and turning in bed, that watching YouTube and stupid videos, TikToks all night, that's time that if you went to bed at, let's say a good bedtime is like 11.
Yeah.
Right? 11, what time do we wake up?
Like 6.
11.
7 hours.
7 hours. 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. So if you push it forward to like 10:30, that's 7.5 hours.
Right.
That's exactly where all doctors and researchers say, like, 7 to 8 hours is what adults need. So all of a sudden we're getting 8 hours of sleep, or 7.5 hours of sleep, and now you can stay in that cycle. And hopefully if that happens, you're not coming home as tired from work.
100%. That's why I know I can add more to this, because there's like a gap of like 4 hours because I'm not sleeping 8 hours. 8 hours is what you need, but I'm not sleeping 8 hours. I'm sleeping like 5 consistently. Yeah. So it's like that gap is even thicker, which means I could apply more. But if I get my hours on point, I would still feel like I have like some wiggle room to,
So the easy answer is you sleep 8 hours a night. You get to bed by 10:30. And we have jiu-jitsu here till 10. Usually, yeah. But you don't have to be to every jiu-jitsu class.
Yeah.
You can come to jiu-jitsu 2-3 times a week. And if you're doing, some days you're doing boxing, some days you're doing kickboxing, sometimes you're doing, we've added the 3 o'clock grappling class. So if you have a short day, or you only got a 5-hour day in, next thing you know, you're doing your jiu-jitsu earlier rather than later.
Yeah.
But if you just have like this, like, I have to be laying in bed at 10:30, kind of like motto.
Yep.
Next thing you know, you're crushing 7 to 8 hours of sleep, and then you're not as tired when you get off work. I think that's kind of a big thing. Okay, so real quick, what are some other things that are keeping you from training? Because we mentioned 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours of work, that's 16 hours. 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours of work, 24 hours in the day. Where did we come to? Oh, I gave you 10 hours of work. That's why I said 18.
Yeah.
So even if you're working 10, we still have 6 leftover hours.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people are like, well, I just wanted to be training here all day, every day. I hear a lot of young fighters tell me that. They're like, well, I'll be here. I could be here 5 hours a day. It's like, no, you can't. Because the second you start training 5 hours a day,
it's going to catch up.
Yeah. Like if you're a professional fighter and what you end up, you quit your job, you got a strength and conditioning coach, you got a boxing coach, a jiu-jitsu coach, you have an MMA team that come to you work with, you can put in 8, 6, 7 hours a day on fighting. But there's a lot of commuting that goes on. There's a lot of meal prep that goes into it. And all of a sudden it's like, yes, you are a full-time fighter, but there's a lot of things that go in between. Let's go back to the normal person. The normal person has that 8 to 10 hour job, has that 8 hours of sleep. And this is where I say people can't train more than like 2-3 hours a day, because all of a sudden the rest of their life goes to crap. Like they're not getting their grocery shopping done. They're not getting their oil changed in their car. They're not getting their taxes done. So all of a sudden, all these other things get left on the back burner, And when that stuff starts catching up to you, now all of a sudden you're not going to practice because you never got your oil changed.
Mhm.
You never did this. You never did that. You never went grocery shopping. And if you're not grocery shopping, you're now just stopping and getting fast food on the way home.
Right.
And so, like, I mean, maybe that's kind of where this podcast is going, but I think a lot of young fighters need to hear this. Like, if you've got your life in order, all of a sudden you can start putting things together. And what's the goal for amateur fighters? I tell amateur fighters 2 hours a day, 4 to 5 days a week for a long period of time. We're talking like 6, 7 months, close to a year. So, what other obstacles do you see in your life that kind of keep you from hitting those numbers?
Honestly, I'll say I would say those are pretty much the basics. I mean, like I said earlier, I'm a pretty basic person.
Get to
Pretty
bed on
boring.
time.
Yeah, I'm a pretty boring, basic person. I'm not like I don't smoke. I don't drink. I don't do
Right.
none of the other stuff. So it's like
Well, you look overly fit.
appreciate it.
So what I want to ask next
Oh, I
is,
do lift. Yeah.
what's your diet look like?
Um, it's not where exactly where I want it to be at. I mean, I'm starting to cook a lot more, so I'm able to watch my meals and stuff,
Right.
and I'm not eating fast food as much. Maybe once a week, at high, 2 times a week, but for the most part, I mean, it's just like chicken,
Right.
rice. I've always been a carbs guy. I think it helps me with like energy and stuff
Yeah.
and just lasting. But um, I don't eat pork. I've eaten it occasionally here and there.
So I got nothing against pork. I'm just very curious why do you not eat pork?
For spiritual reasons, as well as it just doesn't really digest well with me. I don't feel like
Right.
my gut always feels. My stomach starts hurting after, and then I don't know. I feel like when I did cut out pork completely, like my body looked better.
Really?
Yeah, personally,
I've never heard that before.
could be a mind thing. It works though.
So here's a weird diet concept. And I didn't bring you on to talk diet. I like to talk diet with people who have diet problems.
Right.
But we're on the topic of diet, and I think people are fascinated by it. But like, here's the thing. I've heard this debate. Natural sugars are just as bad as processed sugars. Chemically, sugars are sugars are sugars.
Mm-hmm.
Yet when I cut out processed sugars, the two main one like cane sugar and corn syrup, when I cut those out, my body starts to get all tore up and ripped, and I lose weight. When I cut out those two, and I've had a lot of debates and arguments where people are like, well, because of this, that, and the other, it doesn't matter. Sugars are sugars are sugars.
Right.
But here's the deal: if I cut out cane sugar and corn syrup, what happens is I cut out a lot of junk food. Period.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of junk food. Like in total, I eat less food.
Right. 100%.
because there's two major parts of my diet that I can't eat. So, and I'm not saying there's not, and I'm going to actually get back to the spiritual side of not eating pork. But as far as I'm concerned, if you said, Eric, you can't eat pork anymore, once again, I promise I lose weight. Because the total amount of food I eat becomes less.
Yeah.
Because I end up getting a lumberjack meal at Denny's and have to push all the sausage to the side.
True.
The total amount of food I eat is less.
Yeah.
Ham and all that stuff. Here in America, we throw pork in everything. So my total consumption is less.
Yeah.
So that's something to consider. When people think like, Eric, what kind of diet should I be on? I often tell them like, just cut something necessary out, and all of a sudden your total consumption is less. And you start eating less calories and eating total less food. So what are some spiritual reasons for not eating pork?
Just I mean, I remember one of my family members always tell me that it's just not clean. That's like quoted in the Bible.
Right.
Eating anything from a hoof or something like that. So I'm not no scientist. I'm no nutritionist.
You're not a scholar. You don't know exactly why.
But it was just one of those situations where it was like I want to try something out, and the biggest thing behind it was trying to see if I can be disciplined enough to actually do it. Because pork was like my favorite food. I loved ribs, pizza, pepperoni pizza, bacon, sausage. It was like the #1 meat I ate. Yeah. So I was like, you know what? If I can cut it out, then I know It'll help me out with a lot of things. So
Right. So let's just talk about this real quick. Let's just jump. This is my favorite topic of these conversations, anyway.
mhm,
So we talked about being um, tightening up your schedule, uh, getting to bed on time,
mhm,
not taking naps, getting here more often.
mhm,
But let's talk about where you're at spiritually
mhm.
and how does spiritual awareness help with fighting? And I'll give my opinions, but we'll kind of pick your brain as well. So spiritually, where are you at? Do you believe in a creator? Do you believe in a moral code? Do you have a? I mean, we talked about pork, but like, what other things do you do for your spiritual awareness?
I mean, small things, just like reading the Bible, whenever I can. Have a Bible app, and
So that answers the first question. You believe in God, I guess.
yes, so I
Okay.
do. I believe in Jesus Christ. I'm not specifically religious. Me personally, I believe that religion separates us. So I'm not religious, but the closest religion that I follow is Christian. So that would be the I'll say the path. I got distracted. But uh, yeah. Besides that, I'd say yeah, just like trying to read the Bible as much as I can. When it
Let me ask you this: did you grow up Christian?
No.
So what brought you to Christianity?
Um, for me, I just felt like it was just the most normal to me. Um, and I wasn't looking for anything normal, but like everywhere I was at, I always ran into like a Christian church. Like somehow, a lot of my friends were Christian. But it wasn't anything specific for me. It was just I picked up a Bible junior year in high school. My grandma used to always tell me, read your Bible, and she was always saying that you can learn a lot from it. So I started diving into it piece by piece, and then for me, it was just always there's always something there. I don't know what it is, but
Right.
there's a higher being, and some people it might be an energy. Some people it might be. Some people believe in the Big Bang theory. Whatever it
Mhm.
is for you, I mean, I believe that there's something more out there.
Yeah.
And
So
yeah,
we've got this established. Christian. Um,
hmm
Now I want to ask you: do you see a benefit? We went from high level football player,
hmm
and we're starting at amateur MMA fighter. You're
hmm
not even amateur yet. You're not even registered with the state to fight. So we're
hmm
basically starting from ground zero.
hmm
High level football player, just starting with
hmm
MMA. When it comes to where you were at in football, at a high level in football, did you see a benefit to having a higher power, a God to worship, a book to study like the Bible?
100%, 100%. I think without a higher power, I would have been done a long
Mm-hmm.
time ago. I think that taught me faith. That taught me hope. That taught me, having a what we call grit, just having a mentality of just going for something like regardless of the obstacle. I think that comes from a higher being, from my perspective.
Right.
Like that's like an image of Jesus Christ is no matter what the obstacle is, go through it, and just having no fear and nothing. It's like I like attacking all my fears, and I like being uncomfortable. So I think that
Mm-hmm.
uh, that all came from a higher being.
Yeah, I don't know if the nerves get to you in football like the nerves get to people in fighting.
hmm
I haven't played at that level, so I don't know what the nerves are like.
hmm
But I know for fighting, the nerves are insane.
hmm
Personally, if I didn't have a God and if I didn't believe in a God,
hmm
I don't know that I would have the strength to actually fight.
Right.
And the reason is, before I fight, I feel like I kind of have like a nonstop conversation with God.
hmm
Like, man, just please bless that I don't get hurt. Please bless that I don't have any long term injuries.
Right.
Please bless that. And honestly, maybe it's just because I'm old, but losing doesn't scare me. Like
Yeah.
like getting knocked out doesn't scare me. It's it's the long term injuries. It's all the kind of freak accidents that could happen
Right.
that scare me. And so like if it wasn't for a God to kind of like console with and talk with, and then I start thinking about like, man, I always say that phrase, you never see an atheist in a foxhole. Basically, we're talking wartime, right? Like you're firing at someone, they're firing back, and you're like, this could be the last day of my life.
Right.
It's really hard to not consider the fact that there might may or may not be a god.
Mhm.
So basically, I can totally see why having a god is necessary, and that's kind of what we're talking to you now. Um, I did want to get back to your experience with the Bible. What's your favorite book, New Testament or Old Testament? Do you have a preference?
Uh, I don't have a preference. I mean, I like both. I would say favorite book in the Bible would probably be Proverbs. That's
Really?
yeah. I
I would
started
not
off.
see that coming, but sure. I mean, we can like all the Bible and the books in the Bible are like your kids. You got to love them all.
Right.
And maybe
Right.
you kind of love one more than
Yeah, I get
the
it. Yeah. Proverbs and Psalms. Those are my two
See,
favorite.
that's once again
100%.
nothing wrong with those. Nothing wrong with those. But I love them too.
That's
Let me
why.
just say
That's why
that.
I started at, and I was like, oh yeah, I like this. I like that. I
Really?
mean, yeah, just all the small stories in it. I think it's Psalms. Just all the small stories
Yeah.
of people suffering,
Right.
but people praying like while they're suffering and getting through it. I'm like, that's everybody right now.
Absolutely. Do you have a favorite story? Bible story?
uh, Bible story. No, I have a favorite verse.
What's your favorite verse? Can you
It's
quote it?
um,
Can you
dang,
look it up?
I have it. It's Proverbs. I think it's Proverbs chapter 6, verse 7 and 8.
Look it up.
Let's see. Proverbs chapter
What's it talk about?
um Nourishment. No, I think it's nourishment to the bones, something like that. Um, I gotta get like the first word. Uh, let's see. My bad.
No, you're fine.
Nourishment.
Um, so we see the importance of a God, a higher power. You'll never find an atheist in a foxhole. So, I'm not saying people can't be atheists, and I respect people who are. We all have our own path, and we all go down our own journeys. But I like kind of what you're saying. There is absolutely a power and a strength, and let me say a comfort
Mm-hmm.
to having a higher power. The comfort is a huge part of it.
100%. Where it is?
If you can't find them, I have to give them the homework assignment,
I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna
and then
find
be
it.
like, not only do I want to know what it is, but I want it memorized.
I think it's chapter 3, verse 8. It's but that I think I read it through a New Testament version, so it doesn't sound the same on here. But let me find it. I'm gonna find exactly how I have it because I have it written down in my room. It's ooh, I got it. I got it in my head, but I gotta hear it. Let me
Okay,
see.
you have to say what I always say. So
Oh
on
yeah,
the
there it is. Okay, I
okay,
found it. So it is it's Proverbs chapter 3, verse 7 and 8. Do not be wise in your own eyes, fear the Lord and shun evil. This will bring health to your own body and nourishment to your bones.
say
Right.
say it say it say it loud and clear and slow.
Okay, I'll say it in like the specific way. Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord, depart from evil. It will be health to your flesh and strength to your bones. But it's different in the way in the I think it is the King James version or
Yeah.
I can't remember which one, but do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and shun evil. This will bring health to your own body and nourishment to your bones.
Wow.
Yeah.
Here's the thing that goes. So we had a podcast just the other day, and we talked about um, God's diet on the podcast the other day. And so I think it's really interesting that you bring this up.
Mhm.
Quote that last part again. Do you got it memorized still?
Uh,
Wise in your own
yeah,
eyes.
do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and shun evil. This will bring health to your own body and nourishment to your bones.
This will bring health to your own body and nourishment to your bones. So if you're on that podcast that we did just a couple of days ago, this is all going to make sense now. This is really cool, and hopefully you can see the connection. Sorry, you haven't seen that podcast yet, so
Mhm.
maybe you don't see the connections. But we talked. We spent a lot of time talking about putting God first and putting God first and letting your diet be something that you do because you need it, not because you worship food. So basically, by
Mhm.
you pushing pork aside, that basically, in my eyes, now I'm not God, but in my eyes, that kind of shows God like, hey, I have self control, I have self discipline. And you also mentioned that pork's like your favorite, yeah?
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, this thing that I love,
Hmm.
I think God's more important.
Right.
I'm going to put that to the side.
Right.
There is a lot of power in that. I think most spiritual journeys start with someone being willing to take something they love, put it to the side, and show God, like, hey, I'm more interested in your blessings and your power than I am in this stuff that brings me joy in this world.
Yeah.
So that's very cool, very interesting. Okay, so real quick, we've talked about you tightening up your schedule so you
Yep.
can train more.
Hmm.
We talked about your spiritual journey with food. Um, I'm trying to decide if I want to go dig deep into the other parts of fighting. Is there any stone we've left unturned that you want to talk about?
Um, I would just say just the mentality part of it. I think that it's I think that you got to have that mindset. A lot of people when I mean I've always talked about fighting and yeah I want to fight like after football I want to fight after football I want to do this I want to do that and like I mean talk is cheap at the end of the day but like I feel like it's a mentality thing like you got to want to do it and like you were talking about like before your fight you're thinking of what can go wrong stuff like that and that's what everybody's thinking of like
Yeah,
outside of it they're like I ain't gonna do that I don't want to but for me it's like a healing process for me. It's like I fight because it helps me control, myself. It helps me control. You can't go in the ring and throw 100 blows for 3 minutes and think that it's just over. No, it don't work like that.
yeah,
You got to be able to throw blows, but control it and be able to control your anger, control the pace and everything like that. And I think for me, I see it more as like a science and art compared to this brutal sport. And of course, like if you love fighting, you love hitting people, you want to knock
right.
people out, like, but there's like something in it where like you're getting hit and it's like you like that as well. It's
Mm.
weird, but people might think it's crazy. But
So, real quick, since you're on that topic, and we've mentioned the Bible, here's the thing. And this is, if you haven't read my book, Fighting to Find God, the reason I wrote that book is because I saw so much fighting in the Bible.
yeah,
Like, so people don't really, when I ask people about Moses, they're like, oh, Moses, split the Red Sea, led the children of Israel out of Egypt. It's like, well, did you also know that Moses was like a war commander and like was taking his people into war
hmm
all the time? And there was a standard when he went into war. There was often like some kind of requirements that he or his people, the house of Israel, would have to do before the war. And so, to me, I saw that kind of connection of like look, we're not in our war as far as like, hey, having the Lord's servant Moses tell us to go to war, but we all have our own little individual like wars. You see what I mean? And so all these little individual fights, all these little individual battles. And so I see these stories as this like, oh my gosh, I apply that to myself. Like Moses is taking this people into battle, but the Lord has said, I want this, I want that, I want this. And so they kind of have to go in with an understanding that they're doing it under the Lord's command with his blessing and his direction.
hmm
And when they do it, they're successful,
right,
and otherwise they're not.
right,
And so that's, if you haven't read my book Fighting to Find God, you'll order it. It's on Amazon. You can listen to it to audio, but you can kind of see where I'm going with all this. It's very interesting take. Real quick, I did want to ask you this. Um, when it comes to a God and a higher power, I just want to hear from your own mouth for a second. What is the necessity of Jesus Christ, and why do you believe in Jesus Christ?
um, for me, it's just uh, just personally, just growing up, the things I've seen in my life, the things I've been through. Um, I feel like that was what guided me. For me, it was always something in the back of my head that was always talking to me. Like do this, don't do that. You
Yeah.
can do that, but you know where it's gonna take you. So it's like for me, it was the more I focused on that good side of my voice or the good voice I would always hear, the better things got. And even when I wasn't, there was times where I wasn't expecting anything. It's like I was just like I just want to pray. I just want to do it just
Mhm.
because and things will still come. And I don't know. For me, it changed everything. It changed my mentality. It changed how I seen the world, my perspective. that was the biggest thing. Growing up from my hometown, like the perspective is crazy compared to when I first got here to now. The way I see life is totally different.
Really?
Yeah,
So he was telling me earlier, you came to Utah when you were 17.
yeah. After I graduated,
So are you reading the Bible very often at 17?
no, I wasn't. I was here and there. I started in my junior in high school, but it wasn't very consistent.
Right.
It was like I'll read a little bit here, read a little bit there. But when I came to Utah, maybe like 2 years in, that's when I actually got serious with it. 2, 3 years in.
Let me ask you right now. Maybe this is getting a little too personal, but
No, you're
that's
fine.
fine. I'm asking the good questions right now. Currently, right now, how often do you read the Bible?
I would
Straight up,
say
this week. It is Thursday. How many times have you read the Bible this week?
the Bible,
Or
zero.
zero
I
this
haven't.
week.
Yeah, I didn't read the Bible at all this week. Yeah, I'll read like a quote here and there, but I did not read the Bible. I prayed, but I didn't read the Bible, and
So
that's like where I need to be on top of it.
absolutely.
100%. I mean, I'm not going.
That's
can't.
why it took you so long to find your favorite scripture.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the thing. Like, I want to be held accountable because at the end of the day, there's an eye in the sky. Yeah. So like, I have nothing to hide. I mean, I'm not better than nobody. Now, there's times where I've been in it every single day
Mm-hmm.
and very consistent, but I'm very aware of where my mind drifts.
Yeah.
And not reading it, and you can tell a difference. I can tell a difference in day-to-day life, and when I'm on top of that, everything's better. So, but it's just it's process.
So I want to leave you. So here's the thing. I asked you a question about how Jesus Christ helps you in your life,
Mhm.
or why. No, I didn't ask that. That's how you answered it. You answered it as if I asked you why Jesus Christ helps you in your life.
Mhm.
But what I really asked was, what is the necessity of Jesus? Why is Jesus Christ so important? So here's the thing. We're not going to rehash that question. I want you to come back and re-answer that question. Right?
Okay.
After you've been studying the Bible every day.
Okay.
Because right now, I feel like you're kind of giving me Sunday school good answers, but like I want to feel more like
Connected.
yes.
100%.
Like
Yeah.
I asked this question: why is Jesus Christ so important to you?
Right.
I want a different answer.
Okay.
Not that your answer was bad. I felt like it was just maybe a little empty. Sorry. I'm just gonna say it the way I see it.
100%. Yeah. I mean, hey, you're entitled to your own opinion. I mean, it could be. I feel like if I'm deeper into it,
Because here's the thing. I asked you why Jesus Christ was necessary,
right?
And you never brought him up. I didn't ask you how he helps you. You answered it as if how he helps you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm asking, why is Jesus Christ necessary?
Right.
And that goes to me. The reason I asked it that way is because I was hoping you would say, well, without Jesus Christ, the reason I need Jesus Christ, that was kind of where I was hoping the conversation would go. And we can re-look at like what your answer was and how I'm picking it apart right now. But yeah, think about that question. Why is Jesus Christ necessary? Now, here's the thing, and it's not. I'm not trying to promote Christianity, and maybe I am because I consider myself Christian as well. But I think I could ask the exact same thing about Muhammad and Buddha and Allah. You know what I mean? Like, why is it necessary to have this person be your spiritual guide, your spiritual lead, to give you spiritual opportunities? So that's your spiritual goal, your spiritual homework assignment I'm going to give you. Okay, now let's get into fighting real quick. I'm going to ask you to train 4 days a week. Let's just say 2 hours a day. So that ends up being 2, 4, 6, 8. I want 8 hours a week of training. Now, if you have to go 3 hours one day because you had to take a day off, that's fine. We have to go, and I always tell guys when I say this, I get it. We all have a life. We all have trials and problems and things come up. So it's like, if you only have 4 hours and it's Saturday, you can go train 4 hours on Saturday. But that means that you took a bunch of days off.
Right.
Makes sense? Yeah. So I'm going to say 4 days a week, 2 hours a day, or at least 8 hours a week in training.
In the week, not the weekend. You want the in the week.
So
because you guys are usually more so here. I mean, you guys are always here, but
you got 7 days to get 8 hours in.
All right.
Now here's the deal. It doesn't have to be here.
Okay.
So let's say, like I say, Saturday rolls around. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, I can at least go get an hour of sparring.
Yeah.
But if you got the 24-hour access?
Here, yeah.
Yeah. So hour of sparring, but then when everybody leaves for sparring, you stay, you hit the bag, you got the speed bag, you've got all the other workout equipment, and you continue to train you get your 1 hour of sparring, you get 3 hours after that, and all of a sudden you did half of it in one day. Makes sense?
Yeah.
So, but I don't want you to do that. I would rather see you
Break it up.
couple hours of, say, boxing, kickboxing one day, jiu-jitsu another day, this, that, and the other. Okay, so first step, we're going 8 hours a day, and next
8
time
hours a week.
sorry, 8 hours a week. Yes, 8 hours a week. 8 hours a week. Next time we do a podcast, we're going to follow up how you did on 8 hours a week. The other one was, why is Jesus Christ necessary?
Right.
And then the last thing is, I want you to do something else before your MMA fight. So we're talking jiu-jitsu,
right,
or boxing, or two really kind of, I kind of call them entry level, where it's like you can go get what almost is like a real fight, but not quite, but we're getting experience. Okay. So hopefully if we rehash this out in 3 months, you're telling me a couple things. You're like, dude, Eric, I thought about your question and I have a whole new, maybe not even a whole new, but a greater appreciation, a stronger love, a better knowledge of Jesus Christ, because I started to read my Bible every day. And then you're also telling me, like, oh my gosh, I've been training 2 hours a day, 8 hours a week, and I'm getting fast, I'm getting slick. And I'm like, yeah, I sparred you and you're kicking my butt now. This is awesome. And then the other one is, sorry, I'm trying to recap all the goals. There's 3 of them, I thought.
Yeah. Well, you said the last one.
Fighting, scriptures. Oh, a jiu-jitsu or a boxing match.
Yeah.
So in 3 months, I'll just say it real quick. Reading the scriptures, training 2 hours a day, jiu-jitsu or boxing. We're gonna do those. We're gonna get those 3 things done in the next 3 months. Can we do that?
Yeah.
Okay. The whole world heard it.
Sure. I'm basic, man. Let's do it. Like,
all right, T-Bone. It was a pleasure. So 3 months, you're gonna be a whole new man.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you for joining us. This is Eric and T-Bone, Fight City Gym Talk.